know what North Borneo did? Adopted the Filipinos. So, Cordero, Filipino, swimming under North Borneo, wins. Gold medal, we won silver medal, bronze medal, all under North Borneo. So I said, oops, if that is an Olympic or FINA, Federación Internacional, competition, how can a country adopt another country within 3 hours? How? Just because they feel sorry for you, they will adopt you. It's very nakakakilabot. Look, I have goosebumps.
But hold that thought because we have to pause for a break. Guys, don't go back because when we return for a second segment, the state of amateur swimming returns. Welcome back to Philippines Uncut. Tonight's topic is the state of amateur swimming, the sorry state of amateur swimming. And still with us here is Senator Nikki Cosateng to tell us more about what is going on. Now, Senator, in the first segment, we talked about the very unfortunate experience that you guys had, that your students had in...
I wasn't involved in that swimming competition then.
Swimmers?
Yes. That was those...
had in Malaysia.
Yes, that was the story that... One of the stories that they narrated to me.
Okay.
That got me involved in swimming.
Okay.
Because I said, I am not interested. And for the record, I'm not interested in heading PASA. The association itself is something that I wouldn't want to be associated with.
What is wrong with PASA? I mean, how is it run? How does one become a member of PASA?
Well, I think you can be a member of PASA if Mr. Joseph likes you. Because I know people that he will not allow to be members of PASA, maybe because they're challenging his leadership. Maybe they're asking him for an accounting. Maybe his audit, his reportorial, his requirements are not submitted to the SEC. Maybe Mr. Joseph, they feel that Mr. Joseph is running swimming in a way by which the Philippines is the #1 kulelat.
Yes,
in the country. So they have their own issues. They have their own thing. But as I said, the case or the complaint that we filed in the Office of the Ombudsman is very clear. 34 million was given by Genuino as chairman of PAGCOR to PASA, whose president is Mark Joseph.
Okay.
That money, Mr. Mark Joseph even put in 4 million more because 38 million.
Where did it go?
Put to Trace Aquatic School, Trace Aquatic Center, which is part of Trace College, which is owned by Genuino. So I call it like a return to sender.
And this is on record. This is not.
Of course.
This is not innuendo. This is not.
You think Mr. Harry Roque or Attorney Harry Roque is going to take up the case if it's something that can fly into outer space like a kite? Of course not. Mr. Harry Roque is a respected lawyer. He went through the documents. He sat down with all the persons involved, and he agreed to take the case.
Jeez.
That's number one. Second, the other reason why I'm involved in this is because I want a stop to the humiliation of children. Just discussing it gives me goosebumps. And in fact, when I was on Karen Davila's show,
okay,
she says, nakakakilabot naman, Senator, yung kwento nyo. Sabi ko, I have said this maybe 50 times. And every time I say it, I'm kinikilabutan.
Why is PASA putting up with this? I mean, why is the membership?
Maybe they're afraid because Mark Joseph has terrorized and has threatened them with suspension, 1 year or 2 year suspension. Many parents are afraid that their children will not be sent to the SEA Games because if Mark Joseph doesn't like you, it doesn't matter what your standing is, what your time is. If he doesn't like you or if you do not have the money to pay, you are not going to be sent to the international competition.
Money to pay. I mean,
Yes.
what do you mean by this?
You see, like I said, PASA collects the money from government.
Okay. 38
Yeah.
million and change, you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, 34.
34.
For what we know. The evidence we have is 34.
34.
I don't know what he gets from sponsors, from advertisers,
And that's
from,
all not-
from PCSO, from somewhere
There's no
else.
transparency when it
Well,
comes
I
to
don't
it.
know. I cannot say that categorically that there's no transparency. I just don't know what those other monies flowing into PASA or overflowing into PASA amount to. I can only speak for what I know, which is money from PAGCOR poured into PASA, and from PASA poured into Trace
Okay, so
College.
there's 34M there. Okay, so
Yes.
what else do people need to pay? That's a lot of money, 34
Well,
million.
I'll tell you. In one of the age group tournaments of the Southeast Asian Games, a Mr. Picsho, for example, Kaifer Picsho, he was, one of the chosen swimmers, right?
Yes.
He had to pay 16,000 pesos for airfare. He had to pay, I don't know how much for accommodations, entry fee,
Okay.
even the uniform, the T-shirt,
Okay.
even the jogging suit. He was charged 2,005 when even excellent jogging suits, and this was several years ago, today will not cost you 2,005. And a 200 pesos, even 200 pesos, travel tax exemption processing fee.
200 bucks
Yeah.
to get a travel tax exemption. So you're
And-
getting 1,600 off, but you have to pay 200 bucks to get the 1,600 off.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I said, oh, but you're paying membership fees. You see, Mark Joseph is doing this, threatening everybody, invoking FINA rules, rules on unauthorized relations. There's a FINA rule that says FINA members should not be seen swimming in a pool with non-FINA members.
That's the general rule of the International Aquatic
But
Body.
you are not individually a member of FINA. FINA members are countries.
Okay, okay.
I suppose when FINA started 100 years ago,
Yes, yes,
you know,
yes.
I suppose when they started, they didn't have all these members, countries, all these countries as members. So they had to have a rule that if you're not a FINA member, you can't come to the Olympics. If you're not a FINA member, you can't go to the SEA Games, or,
It's just that
Asian Games.
It applies to countries, not to individual associations.
And it
or
applies to tournaments or competitions that are FINA competitions.
Okay, okay.
So if I have a barangay competition in Diliman Preparatory School,
Labas na yung FINA doon.
walang pakialam ang FINA sa
pakialam
amin.
yung FINA at walang pakialam
Yes.
yung PASA
Right.
doon.
Now,
Okay.
here's the catch.
Okay. Malino yun, yes.
Yes, malinaw. So Mr. Joseph has this convenient rule, which he told me,
Okay.
personally, he told me.
What did he
He
tell
says,
you?
we cannot swim in your pool because your pool is not recognized by PASA, number one. Our coaches are not PASA members, which means they don't pay the 6,000 or 7,000 per year per coach. So our coaches cannot coach your students. And your students who are not paying 400 peso membership cannot swim in PASA pools like Rizal Memorial. Cannot. Because we are not members. Only members can swim. Now, this is the thing. I tell you, well, you know, Mark, I am not ever going to be responsible for paying 800,000, we have 2,000 students at 400 pesos, at 800,000 pesos, just for you to let your coach in my pool. Forget it. I am going to look for my own coaches.
Yeah.
Dennis Cordero is one. Dennis Cordero is the father of Denjili Cordero, who was last year an Ateneo a scholar, and she was a Moro Lorenzo awardee. You know, and she has 3 daughters actually who are tops in freestyle, breaststroke, and butterfly. Yeah. So I said, my swimmers, many of the swimmers in my school,
Yes, yes.
cannot even float. So what's the beef? But no, not allowed. We cannot even, and I purposely wanted to hold a social event
Yeah.
in my school. I invited Louis Mangahis, Mr. Mark Joseph, Mr. Richie Garcia, Mr. Pepin Cojuangco. We were all in a meeting in this Stone Grill in Ortigas.
Yes.
And I told him, let's have a barbecue so that everybody gets to know each other. It never materialized. Why? Because They don't want PASA members to even be talking to us, non-PASA members.
You know, this whole thing about all...
So let me just continue.
Yes,